Okay, we'd like to call the January 27th, 2026 Planning Board meeting to order. Let's see, I guess noted that we have everyone present. And the first item would be the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second?
and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? So it's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to public comments. We'll have, excuse me, we'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first one up is Joe Sailors, and Joe, you do have 6 minutes because Deb Ware has given you her time. Oh. Can we start the clock? Just kidding. It's all right. You're up, Joe, and if you could state your name, please, for the record, and you do have 6 minutes.
I am Joe Sailors, live at 9332 Westminster Drive here in Huntersville, and spoke at the public hearing that started this a few weeks ago. And in that meeting, we requested a sit-down with Mr. Bowman, which he did about a week later. And he informed us that he was told by staff to send notices to several people that did not receive notices for the public hearing that we had. And as of 5 o'clock this evening, I talked with 3 of those people, and they haven't received anything yet. Originally, this project was approved in 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2, and that developer, or I guess contractor, that bought the land from Nate went bankrupt, and a second contractor had to be found to develop the property and put in houses. At that point in time, phase 1 is all that Mr. Bowman sold to the new contractor. Phase 2 was supposed to be a road going out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road. When he asked for the rezoning, he left out phase 2, got it approved by the board, and there was supposedly public hearings made at that point in time, but again, no one showed up for the public hearing because no one in Westminster Park was notified except for those who owned the original property in Westminster Park, or in the Overhill project that it was sold to. And he says he sent all the notices out. He's confirmed with me even a big list of people that he sent the notices to for this meeting and for the one with the town board before. But again, many of those people haven't received it. Made a statement at the board meeting that part of the reason he was trying to remove one of the roads was to restrict cut-through traffic into his neighborhood that he is currently building with phase 3. Well, what's going to happen to that cut-through traffic is very simple. It won't go through his neighborhood to get out to Mount Holly Holmesville Road. It will come through Westminster Park, Pembroke, and Westminster Drive, and Shields, and Wedgewood, because people can't get out on to Beatties Ford Road at Carver. Currently, right now, Overhill goes to McCoy and Beatties Ford. Carver goes to Beatties Ford. Well, the town has already said they're going to close Overhill prior to the intersection of McCoy. That will force all of the traffic that would normally go out to McCoy and to Beatties Ford Road through Overhill, down Pembroke, into Westminster Park. I was in your place as a board member of the planning board for almost 12 years. And when I was there, I made my decision based on several things. One being whether the project met the criteria and the zoning ordinance as required. The second thing that was high on my priority was whether or not it was good for the neighborhoods around it. If these roads are not put in, if the road from Carver is not extended, he has said that his traffic people said that there won't be any cut through into Westminster Park because they'll get out onto Beatties Ford Road or they'll use the street that he's planning to put in. There's already an existing street on the northern part of this property. He's going to put a second one in. The only problem is the second one he's going to put in is less than 80 yards from the one that's already there. People aren't going to have the ability to get out onto Beatties Ford Road. They're not going to have the ability to get out onto Mount Holly Holmesville Road. They're going to come through our park and make that entrance further north on Mount Holly Holmesville Road.
Okay, thank you very much. Your time was... Next, we have, excuse me, Don Fisher. And if you could state your name, you will have 3 minutes as well.
Don Fisher, I live at 9120 Westminster Drive. My wife and family and I have lived there for 36 years, going on 37. I have seen the traffic estimates, and it's just mind-boggling to me that you can think, if you have not been in the neighborhood, you can't understand the logistics. I can't believe that this traffic, we already have an increase in traffic. Now, some of it's cut through from other areas, but I think some of it is from the new houses that are already in the neighborhood. If the traffic studies are wrong, what is our recourse? Now, we've said, oh, well, we're going to put in a traffic light. That got shot down. Now we're going to put in a roundabout at Beatties Ford and McCoy. They've been talking about that for years. Where is it? When is it going to be done? It's just, it doesn't make any sense, and it's certainly not good for our neighborhood. The original plan that was approved had our concerns and recommendations in it. The plan now is so far removed from that original plan, it is mind-boggling. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next, we have Dennis Jakuberitz. Thank you very much. If you could state your name for the record, you will have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you. Dennis Jacobitz, 9408 Wedgewood Drive in the park over there. I'd like to just sort of reiterate what this gentleman just said. I was at all the meetings way back when, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and to be honest, I think a lot of you folks weren't around at that time, so I would encourage you to go back and look at some of the minutes to the extent if you haven't already. But in the old building, the place was packed. Everybody, was a very, very contentious type of thing building over here. I was one of 2 citizens that actually was for it with the revisions. So I think everybody expressed everything they had to say in the activity. It came down to 2 things. It came down to the density of the project, and it came down to the traffic. And both were addressed, and they were addressed adequately enough where the vast majority, there's always going to be some, vast majority thought, okay, with these new parameters, we're good to go. Looking at it again now, as this gentleman said, you wouldn't recognize it. And not that anyone wanted to be disingenuous or sort of hoodwink. You see how few people are here? When I look at the minutes, it says, what are they talking about? A rezoning from some type of residential thing that I don't know to some other. But hold on a minute, the current requirements mean that they all have to be connected, these little zones in there, and the road goes away. So it's almost like you need 2 separate topics. You need one, rezoning, which I may be for, because I don't really know what it's about, and the other one is, hey, is the whole road going away and the whole traffic is going to dump into our development? So it's like, when all those people came out, and a lot of the people are elderly, and it's cold, and it's this, and it's that, they make an effort, and they present it to the board, and the board hears it, and they make the necessary changes, and the builder and developers say, I hear you, we're going to do it, and they do traffic studies and everything. To just throw that out the window and say, okay, well, the new guy says, no, we're just going to accommodate, I don't see how that benefits the community at all, and I don't see why we should just sort of genuflect and say, okay, that's all right. First of all, the density is also increasing, if I read the proposal correctly. So the builder and sort of adding this 3rd phase and bifurcating the 1st and 2nd phase, there's more of a profit there. And I'm not against profit. Profit's a good thing. They're entitled to make money. It's a big piece of property. But what are we giving up? Everything. We're giving up the density that was promised to us, where we came down, gave up our evenings the same way that you do, and I appreciate your time. But I'd really ask you all to go back and look, to the extent there are minutes or things that you can look at, to see, and all the comments that were here, and the agreement, the handshake that was made between the builder or the developer or the landowner and with the community, so that everybody's satisfied and everybody's requirements are met. It seems, again, I don't think anyone's disingenuous or trying to hoodwink anyone, but it almost feels that way when you look, if you take a quick look at the meetings, what's going to be discussed. Nothing about a total road being eliminated, which was a major factor in consideration for the community saying, great, we'll now come on board a little bit. We're not going to fight to the end of the world because, look, we got to face it. There's development, there's progress, fine. It can't just go away. And I implore you and ask you or beg you, please take that into consideration when you take your final vote, that there was a very different board who looked at everything very, very thoroughly, listened to the issues on both sides, and came up with a compromise. And for that to just go by the wayside because there's a smaller crowd here tonight, I think it would really be a disservice to the community. Thank you very much for your time and consideration of my comment.
Thank you. Next, we have Donnie Woodard. And if you could state your name for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Donnie Woodard. I live at 9121 Westminster Drive. And first of all, I really want to thank Mr. Bowman. He actually met with myself and Mr. Sailors and gave us some information about what he perceived as information that supported his position. And I'm a business owner myself, so I totally understand profitability. I understand that you're in the business to make money. The issue I still have, and I looked over, he sent a traffic report that he got from the Timmons Group, and I see where the person that I guess Jeff Timmons stated that there was not going to be additional traffic down Pembroke and in Westminster. However, his parameters that he used were, he said that it was due to Mount Holly Huntersville Road being a further distance away, the existing speed humps in our neighborhood, and a number of driveways and parked cars on the road. We don't really have parked cars on our road. So, some of these parameters that he used to find the findings of his study just were not totally accurate in my opinion. You know, as you know, Don Fisher said earlier, I live right across the street from him. We've seen the increased traffic already, and we haven't even gotten to the point of the next phase. And the elimination of that second road, even though it may seem in his plans that road is sufficient, when you have that many homes being developed, it's just in a morning or in the afternoon, it's just not feasible for someone to sit in behind, you know, 10 of his other neighbors when he can, you know, there's a perfectly good street that he could go down, and it'll be Pembroke that'll take the brunt of that. And it just cannot warrant, it cannot handle that additional traffic. It's not wide enough. There's no sidewalks, so a lot of people that walk on those roads or run on those roads, especially in the dark mornings in the winter, that increased traffic is going to be an increased risk of injury. So that's my position.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Bill Weir? If you could state your name for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Bill Weir. I live at 9319 Wedgewood Drive here in Huntersville. Well, to kind of piggyback on what some of my neighbors have said, yeah, there's disingenuousness going on here. Mr. Bowman has known that this stream in question has existed since the time of the formation of this project. Why does he want to change it now? Because he couldn't get his project through as it was before, so he had to make an agreement. Okay, well, why don't we stick to that agreement? What's the argument against it? What does he want to do this for? The argument is for traffic. Again, I think that's a disingenuous argument. The fact is he's going to have several $100,000, if not millions, more dollars worth of houses as part of his changes. His profit at our expense because he had a traffic study done. Okay, great. Box is checked. Experts, master's degree. They must know what they're talking about. Well, any fool that's lived in our area for any length of time understands that study's bunk. All that traffic's going to come straight through our neighborhood. You already can't get to Beatty's Ford Road or Mount Holly Huntersville Road from anywhere less than Shields on a good day. All right, so we all know where that traffic's going through, regardless of the results of that study. I just don't. I don't have any faith that we're being listened to. The only reason I even found out about this meeting is because Joe Sailors told us. We didn't get any kind of notice here. Now, why were our neighborhood so up in arms about this project from the beginning? You know, it's because we understood the scope creep that would happen, which is happening now. Why did we understand there would be scope creep? Because we've lived in this town for 20 years and we know how these projects go. Do I seem jaded? Yes, I am. Why am I jaded? Because this board has made me jaded. Not this board particularly. Most of you weren't here, but the process, which, by the way, was changed because of how effective we were at protesting this. I guess I really have said all I have to say. I have a few seconds left, so for all the good I feel like my speech has done here, I'll just summarize what I feel like the key points were, which were blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Have a good night. Stay out of the bad weather. Be safe. Love each other.
Lisa Fisher, you're up next. You have 3 minutes. If you could state your name for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Fisher. I live at 9120 Westminster Drive. I want to thank you for listening to us. Thank you for giving us your attention and really giving credence to our concerns, because they really are serious to us, especially those of us that have lived in this neighborhood for a long time. This neighborhood is near and dear to my heart. We raised our children there. We have really close friends there. Our neighbors are good people. I want to make it really clear, don't let the number of people that are here or not here make you think one way or another about how we feel. If we had known, if we had received something, email, something in the mail, anything to let us know there would be a hearing, if there had been another sign, we would have been here. One of our neighbors couldn't be here tonight because it's her daughter's birthday and they're celebrating. But we are all here on behalf of all our neighbors. So don't let the numbers deceive you one way or another. I want to talk about the way this change will impact our neighborhood. It's very similar to what other people may have said, but a couple things I want to point out to you. The safety of our neighbors is paramount to our concerns. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have curbs. There's no way to put those in. There's no room for them. So people walk on the edge of the road. And I'm always telling my husband, you walk facing traffic so you can see what's coming towards you when we're out walking the dog. We have a diverse neighborhood in terms of ages. We have lots of elderly folks. We also have folks with very young children in strollers walking up and down the street. I'm concerned about their safety. I'm concerned about the traffic just as it is now. I'm concerned about, even though we have signs up at the end of 3 streets into our neighborhood that say no construction, we still have construction. Joey Sailors can show you pictures of construction vehicles coming down Westminster Drive. I live really in that sharp hairpin curve. We have a speed hump in front of our house. I've seen cars almost go airborne because they're just barely slowing down. And then they've got that big sharp curve to maneuver. If there's somebody walking or even another car approaching them, that's a dangerous situation. Our streets are deteriorating. I counted before the meeting on January 6th, I walked down our street and I took pictures of the potholes. They ranged in size from 3 inches to 23 inches. I can show you the other pictures on my phone. The day after the meeting, 2 of them were repaired. I don't know why the rest of them didn't get repaired, but the speed bump in front of our house, on the same side, there's a pothole here and a pothole there. You can't miss them. It's damaging our cars. If somebody's trying to maneuver around the pothole, again, if there's somebody walking or another car approaching, that's a dangerous situation as well. The roads are narrow. In some places on Westminster, when you're approaching another car, you have to stay in your lane, and if there's somebody on a bicycle or somebody walking, there's nowhere else to go. Hopefully you can get stopped.
And
I
I'll
would
have to
just,
stop you right there, your time.
thank you. I would
appreciate that.
invite you to come and visit our neighborhood, walk the streets, and see for yourself.
Okay. Next item, item 4A, consider a recommendation on petition 25-12, a request by Carver Bowman LLC to revise the existing approved rezoning R2205 for the Oak Grove Hill development for a neighborhood residential conditional district to neighborhood residential conditional district with a revised site plan layout of Phase 3. Lauren Spate, good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to enter the staff report into the record. So, as has been mentioned, we're going to provide some history of the project because this is the 3rd revision for folks that may not be as familiar with it. The applicant is here this evening. They can speak to the purpose of the revision. Staff will provide that background and the staff analysis. Yeah. There we go. Oh, okay. So the petition is R2512. It is the Oak Grove Hill revision. The applicant is Carver Bowman LLC. So one element to start off with is that the Oak Grove Hill project is currently in 3 phases. And that is based on the most recent rezoning that is applicable for the area. The site that you see hatched is the Phase 3 area of the site. However, the area immediately west of the site includes phases 1 and 2 of the project. So a bit of background, and the maps are included in the staff report. Originally, the project was approved under rezoning number R18-10A, and as has been previously mentioned this evening, that included the version of the plan that was in 2 phases. So there was phase 1 that was near Beatty's Ford Road, and then phase 2 went out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road. R23-04 was submitted that added, R2205 was submitted that added the phase 3 area. And the reason that we have an R23-04 was to undo the original 2018 rezoning. So the project had a few meetings, well, a couple meetings so far. There was a community meeting that was held by the applicant, the public hearing this month, earlier this month. And then this evening is obviously the planning board meeting. Final action is proposed for next month. So there are some changes to the project that from the R22-05 version of the plan. One, as has been mentioned, is the removal of the Carver Avenue connection to Phase 3, which we'll show in more detail in the presentation. A couple additional specimen trees have been identified. There's a slight reduction in the canopy preservation area. However, the project is staying above the minimum that's required for the zoning district. There is a change in the distribution of lot sizes, an increase in density by 1 unit, and there's also an increase overall in open space. So the first change is the removal of the Carver Avenue connection. So you'll see on the left side of the screen, originally there was going to be a connection from Phase 2 into Phase 3. That connection has now been removed. That connection would have crossed the stream. As has been mentioned, the stream has always been there, and the applicant can speak some more into their purpose for that removal, but that is one of the proposed changes. And as you'll see, the configuration of the lots has been altered as well with that removal. The 2 additional specimen trees are reflected under the Phase 3 column, so there are now 83 specimen trees that have been identified. There's a slight reduction in the canopy save area, but the current save for the site is 13.76%, which is still above the 10% minimum for the neighborhood residential zoning district. The lot sizes and density, so in the Phase 3 section, under R22-05, there were 2 different lot size types, and now there's 1 lot size, like range in terms of the size. And the density, as mentioned, is increased by 1 lot. And I do want to clarify what's going on with that a little bit. So under the R22-05 rezoning, the town board approved 156 units in their approval motion. What was approved, in the plans ultimately was 154 units. And that is allowed. You can decrease the number from your approval. You just can't increase the density after a board action or other types of actions. But essentially, now the increase is 157 units, so it's by 1 unit from what the board previously approved. The increase in open space, we talk about this a little bit in the staff report. The applicant provided the exhibit to the right showing that the overall amount of open space will be increased. The urban open space is being decreased a bit, but overall there's going to be more open space provided in this version. The applicant is requesting a few different types of modifications, and we'll go into some detail about that. The first is the tree survey requirements, canopy preservation requirements, and buffer requirements. The tree survey requirements and buffer requirements have changed since the R2205 rezoning was approved, and that's why the applicant is requesting modifications from that one. And then we'll also talk about there's a site change with the canopy preservation that we can go into. So with the tree preservation, since the approval of R2205, the requirements now include that trees 12 inches in caliper and greater are identified in the tree survey. At the time that R2205 was approved, that was not a requirement. So that is one modification that the applicant is looking for. Another is the red circled areas you'll see are some areas where there would be a requirement for a buffer. However, those areas will be impacted by the future sewer for the site. And so there's a request to not plant in the sewer, the future sewer easement areas as well. The heritage tree was a significant topic of concern in the previous rezonings and the preservation of the one heritage tree on site. And originally, it was intended that the site that has a home there would be some type of communal space for the community. The applicant is now proposing that this, and you'll see on the right, is now a private home lot. What this introduces is that some of the canopy of that heritage tree would now be on the private home lot, and tree save is no longer permitted in private home lots. One of the items that staff is proposing is that there is essentially an easement in the area where the heritage tree would be to make sure that that heritage tree is protected. Another modification that the applicant is requesting is a block length waiver. This was considered in the previous rezonings, and there was not significant concern about this block length waiver request, and staff does not have a concern about the block length waiver request now either. A few overall site plan comments. One goes to the tree survey, the heritage tree, and then the transportation notes as well. So as mentioned, the tree survey requirements have changed a bit, and staff, our first preference would be that the trees are identified. However, in lieu of all the trees being identified, another element and another change that's happened since the R2205 rezoning was approved is that our buffer planting requirements have changed as well. And so we're looking at what type of balance there can be if the applicant does not go back and resurvey the site essentially. They're not proposing to decrease their specimen save, but we're looking at what they can do to essentially balance not completing another full survey of the site. Staff is recommending that all the previously accepted transportation notes are also incorporated into the approval for this one. The highlighted items are those that are most directly related to the Phase 3 section of the site. Staff find that the proposal is generally consistent with the neighborhood residential intent. Some previous small area plans that were considered with regard to the proposal are the 2040 plan. So a portion of the site is included in an activity center that considers that an intensification in density would be appropriate. A portion of it is slightly outside of that. And the use of buffers is generally used to offset and balance the transition between your higher density uses and your lower density, which is what the surrounding existing neighborhood is. It's lower density and larger lots. There are two versions of the previous, the Beatties Ford and Mount Holly Huntersville small area plans. The version of the plan that was adopted in 2005 anticipated that a portion of this rezoning area would be moderate density. And at the time of the previous rezoning and now, staff find that The density that's proposed with this application is consistent with that. And then the subsequent version that was adopted in 2007 anticipate that the area that includes a portion of the rezoning area would be mixed use. This is obviously not a mixed use development, but staff still find the intent consistent. Another plan that is relevant to the site is the Huntersville Greenway and Bike Master Plan. And the frontage along Mount Holly Huntersville Road is proposed to be a side path, and that is reflected in the submitted plans. Staff find that the submission is consistent with LU 1.1 and EOS 4. We find and we've proposed some modifications that can resolve the inconsistencies with LU 6.1 and LU 8.2. Staff find that the rezoning is generally consistent with some modifications. And the recommendation is just reflecting what I've already stated about our proposals to modify a couple items. We're happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Do we have some questions for staff at the
And I
moment?
think the applicant also has an exhibit, and they may want to speak as well.
Okay. Questions
Okay.
for staff?
I'll go first. I just want to get some clarification on the notices.
Sure.
What's the radius again, and how are they to be mailed out, and how does the town check that?
Can you go to the next slide? Sorry. Yep. You might have to click a few times. Yep, thank you. Sure. So, for a modification to a zoning classification, general statutes requires the first two items that are in bold. So that would include that the owner of the property that's being rezoned receive a notice, and each abutting property receive a notice. That's what the statutes require. Additionally, the town zoning ordinance requires the following four categories be notified as well. So that's the owner of each property within 250 feet of the petition property, the owner of each property directly across the street, easement, right-of-way, public or private from the petition property, the owner of each property across the street, easement, or right-of-way within 250 feet of the right-of-way boundary opposite of the petition property, and essentially a neighborhood association. It's a long paragraph, but to summarize, that's what it is, if one exists. Staff took that boundary from the entirety of the Oak Grove Hill development, so that would be phases 1, 2, and 3. Staff, our GIS staff, checked the list for the notices, and we're happy to check to see anyone who, the list of who was required to receive it per the ordinances and general statutes, to see if they were first required to receive the notice. For the community meeting, the responsibility of sending that notice is the applicant. The applicant provided to staff. I know that we saw the receipt, which we're not required to demand of the applicant, but they provided that. They provided the list that they mailed it to as well. And then staff also used the same list to send the notification for the public hearing. And I actually we have 4 returned from the public hearing. So presumably, which we can't say certainly, we're not the Postal Service, but we've only received 4 back from the public hearing from what the town sent.
And other than really just taking the developer's word for, or the applicant's word for him sending them, there's really no way to check it and...
And the receipt that they sent, I mean, and that's just saying that, and we checked the receipt for all the addresses that were
Okay.
included, and they included
So
all
there's
of
a
the required
receipt
ones.
from the post office when you mail the postcard, and you can see sent, okay?
Yep.
All right, and you have that, okay? I've got more questions, but if you guys want to go next, somebody else.
Hi, let me check the small area plans here with,
Sure.
with this new revision. So, I think in particular it's the Long Creek Hamlet Plan, that calls for, where is it at here? create a new low-intensity urban village with moderate density and low-density residential development. In your view, does this meet that criteria with 51-foot wide lots as being low and low intensity?
For moderate density, yes. And the anticipation is that because it is also partially in an activity center, it is allowed to have an increase in density there as well.
Okay, is the Beatties Ford Road, Mount Holly, Huntersville Small Area Plan within the activity center?
A portion of it, yes,
Overlap.
is, yeah,
Can you
there's some
just
overlap.
Real quick, go back to that slide, I think it's maybe 4 slides ago, that had the plans plotted out. Okay,
It's just 2 versions.
so that's the Hamlet Center, right?
Yep,
About half the site is in that. Okay. And overall, the overall activity center is outlined in this lime green, is that what I'm seeing? Just center me on the Beatties Ford Road, Mount Holly, Huntersville Small Area Plan versus the actual overriding activity center.
okay,
Yeah,
so,
this one's the one I was a little confused with. Can you?
oh, where that is
Yeah,
in proximity?
yeah, just,
Can I,
You want me to highlight where phase 3 is?
so there's, yep, that's phase 3.
okay,
1 and 2.
Yep, so 1 and 2 is captured more in the activity center.
And the activity center is a half mile from essentially the intersection?
No, it includes that area,
That's what I'm saying, it's a
Yep.
half mile radius from the intersection?
approximately.
okay.
So it would,
So the whole thing's within the activity
Well-
center, gotcha, okay,
Yeah, loosely.
okay.
yeah,
It's not that much of phase 3.
it's not that much of phase.
No.
Okay, thanks, that's all for now.
Other questions for staff?
Yeah.
Chris?
So, sorry, my mic wasn't on, sorry about that. The roundabout was mentioned in one of the comments. Is that a town project? Is that a state project? And what's the timeline? Yeah, I didn't notice it. You went by the improvements really fast. I didn't see it in there.
It's
Sure.
not a part of
It's
the
not.
TIA.
It's not
Okay.
part of this project. Originally, we looked at the concept of a roundabout at the 5 Points area, found that that would not work to meet the goals of the project. They are going to revise the intersection. They will be eliminating one of the street legs over there. We're going through condemnation and purchasing right now, so hopefully that project will get started in the next couple of years.
And that's a town project?
It is a town project.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, and I'm still a little confused on the traffic, which the applicant may be able to, can you go back to a good one on the, that just shows kind of the traffic, and I can draw on this. That was a good one right there. You can go back to maybe one more before that one right there, okay? So up here is really Westminster, right? And these people are cutting
Yep.
around like that, right? So our constituents that have spoken tonight, would like these folks right here, I'm assuming, to have a better access out this way, right? So, I mean, I would assume all of these people right here are going out. All of these people would probably rather go this way than all the way back up there that way. So we're worried about these homes right here. And has a new traffic study been done to see how many of these people would rather go this way than through their actual neighborhood and go out their neighborhood exit?
A new traffic study has not been done. So the applicant submitted a TIA determination of need. An analysis was done that was accepted by town engineering that a study would not be required.
Even though the entire project is over that 100-house threshold, this section of it is only 50-some odd homes that I counted, so you're saying it's not needed. It wasn't that much of a change.
Well, so the density was increasing by 1 unit, but they're not modifying their requirements that were previously adopted. They just didn't determine that the increase and the reconfiguration required an additional study to be done.
And the town said that, right? Somebody at the town stated
No,
that? Okay.
that would have been the consultant for the applicant saying that, and the town engineering department accepted the analysis that was provided to them.
You know, I mean, I would have thought this was a gross enough change that it should be at least reevaluated, but that's just, I don't know. It's citizens sitting on a board. So I think the other thing that somebody mentioned was the stream. Does that have anything to do with, you know, whether he can cross it twice or not? I'm sure there's some savings on a culvert that I'll ask him about a little bit later. But, you know, was that part of the reason for rezoning the stream?
The removal of the street was a significant enough modification for the project to have to come back for a rezoning modification, yes.
But I thought somebody said something about him not having to cross the stream twice. but-
Yes,
Okay.
there would not be a second stream crossing, that's correct.
Yeah, right, but that wasn't really a reason for that. And then last is on the street upkeep and maintenance, like, where do they contact somebody to get potholes? I mean, I feel like that should be a thing that we have as a town, is a number you can call, and then there's probably some steps and a timeline on how that gets fixed, right?
Town Public Works.
Okay.
I believe that those requests can be put in through their website. I know you can put those requests in for sidewalk concerns, so there's some sidewalk issue that you need modified. Presumably, you can do the same thing with town-maintained streets. But even if you can't, I know that you can call them. So that would be Town Public Works Department, and put in a concern or complaint about town streets for them to address
And I
that.
assume Westminster is a town-maintained street?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have for the town for now.
Okay, any other questions, Michael?
Just a couple of observations.
Sure.
One is, just a couple of observations. One is that if we look at plans like 2040 and other plans of the town, is a high emphasis, not low, but a high emphasis on connectivity of community.
Correct.
And now what we discover is we've got a plan that's, from the original approval, is reducing connectivity. And I'm trying to, I'm wrestling with how do I rationalize going backwards when the city's plans call for us to go forward with connectivity. And I think the connectivity isn't just traffic. This is a public safety issue as well, which is one of the main, public safety in multiple ways. So I'm curious to hear answers to that. And I'm not a historian, but dying to understand why historically we said, yes, there should be a street there. But today we go, nope, shouldn't be a street there. I'm just curious.
Sure.
Because I don't fully appreciate what I'm hearing at this point in understanding it. So we'll wait to hear the answers.
Sure. So I'm not sure that staff's first recommendation is that there is not a street there. This is what the applicant is proposing. And that's their choice to propose that modification.
Yeah, but staff's approved it. They said, yeah, they're with it.
No,
But you approved the request, right? Is there an
No.
exception carved out?
no, this is the request right now.
And they
We
recommended the
haven't
request.
approved this.
Yeah, they recommended the
Okay,
request.
got it. Thanks.
We're saying that generally, the site plan is consistent with the adopted plans and studies and ordinances, but that would be from the planning board's recommendation and town board approval as to whether or not you believe that the significance of this stream crossing and street removal and connectivity removal is appropriate.
Thank you.
Staff, any other questions for staff? Marshall?
Yeah, so as for this heritage tree site, you said that there's discussion around, I guess, an easement, or would that look like a deed restriction, or what's the idea behind trying to preserve that tree?
Yes, so heritage tree requirements, it's 100% save, and the applicant is proposing to save the one heritage tree on site. The concern is obviously that once you have a private homeowner there, that especially after the first homeowner, that there may be confusion or whatnot about the requirement to save it. Somebody might not like it, somebody has allergies, whatever. So that there is some very obvious boundary of the area not to be disturbed. So there would be, staff is proposing that there is some type of non-disturbed easement around the area where the canopy and presumably like root system also exists for the tree, where the land is not disturbed to preserve the health of the tree.
So is that restricting the lot owner from cutting back the canopy? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying? Okay, okay. And that would be deed bound in that it transfers from lot to lot, from owner to owner, sorry?
Yes.
That's it, okay.
And just for a quick confirmation, the plan that we approved back in 2022, I mean, he could go build, the developer could go build this right now and add that one extra street, but the density, would be very similar, right, as far as the traffic. And we would save the lot there because he doesn't currently have a house adjacent to the tree. I remember that detail. But he could go build that right now, no questions asked.
Yes, they still have the approval of the previous rezoning. The lot, it's not a private home lot. There is a home that is still there.
Right, yeah.
Yep, but yes, that is correct.
He's not going to sell that lot, All right.
Anything else for staff before we have the petitioner? Okay. If you could state your name for the record and
Nate Bowman, 205 South Church Street, Huntersville. I thought that they would have the whole staff report up, so in clarification, I'm going to have to just hand this down. This is the first approval for Oak Grove Hill. And if you notice on there, there's just one connection to Mount Holly Huntersville Road. And it is closer to the intersection where there's now going to be a convenience store, and it really wasn't the best place to make that connection. DOT, CDOT, and the town preferred that we line it up with the intersection of the neighborhood across the street. We also thought by adding additional land, we could improve the development, which is why we went ahead and redesigned it and had 2 stream crossings. When I met with the neighbors, I decided to go ahead and fully explain what the situation we're in. When we did the plan, we loved the plan, but once we bid it out, and I shared this with Joe Sailors and Mr. Woodard, the cost to develop the property on the lots alone was $165,000, and then once we added the price of the land, which is a fair price, I've done 3 other deals, and this was cheaper, all in Huntersville. Turned out that before you added interest or any developer profit, the cost to develop the lots, each lot would be $232,000. I made every effort over a year with my 35 builder list to try to sell the project. Without a road connection out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, and without this project going in with one connection, it's going to create a traffic nightmare, absolutely. Can you pull up the traffic study? Yeah. We had to do a scoping project, and the Timmons Group did that. And when you pull it up and read the letter, and I shared this with the neighborhood representatives, basically in peak hours, 90% of the traffic will go out what they call Road A, which is a one connection, and 10% would head towards Pembroke and the Westminster neighborhood. This also took into account that Overhill was going to be closed. So that's why we hired traffic engineers. I'm a history major. I have to hire somebody that understands traffic. The town engineers looked at it and accepted it and didn't have any issue with our analysis. So really what it comes down to, what I've been trying for the last 2 years, is to make a street connection, like I promised, to Mount Holly Huntersville Road. And it has not been economically feasible. At this point, we've gotten the cost down from $232,000 a lot to $195,000 a lot. I currently have one letter of intent. I'm supposed to get another, and they're still $15,000 short of break even. That's break even for a reasonable land cost and our cost for engineering. So at the end of the day, myself and the original landowners who still own it, I haven't bought from the Hamiltons, may have to take a significant discount to even make this happen. So what we've been trying to do is do what we promised in that first sheet where you see one road connection. And our traffic engineer has said, oh, from an environmental standpoint, one of the costs, once we went through and took this to the Army Corps of Engineers in the state, they didn't like the two stream crossings, and they were going to slap $326,000 mitigation fee to add the second stream crossing. So in looking at the project, how do we get it to where we can sell it and get that one road built? We decided to eliminate the one stream crossing that was more problematic and more environmentally expensive to handle. And the only reason we added the one lot is rather than, we think we can probably get the owner to take maybe $300,000 and sell that one lot to help make the deal work. So I've been transparent with the homeowners, and I can be transparent, and I've met with a couple of the commissioners and the mayor already, and I've handed them the bids, the original bid and the current bid, to explain why we're at where we are now. And all I'm trying to do is get this road built because I did promise that road. I promised a connection. Without that connection and without Phase 3 being built, then the traffic has two outlets, Pembroke and Carver, the existing Phase 1 and Phase 2. And I don't want to impact Westminster with more traffic than need be, and we think 90% of it, peak hours, is going to go out the new road. So hopefully that kind of clarifies how we got to the situation. It's not a good situation. Kind of wish I never started the project to begin with. You're going to go through a bankrupt contractor, but this is the best solution, is what we've been trying to find out. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. And anybody that does want access to the bids and everything, I have copies with me now, but I can go ahead and, if you give me your email, I can send you that information as well. Did we ever find the traffic?
Yeah, it's up.
Oh, there it is. There's the engineer's consensus, and then you can, the next part of it shows the, yeah. There's the impact analysis showing where the traffic's going to go at peak hours. And much like the recommendation of who you got to notify, you know, it's one of those things. There's a new rezoning coming up. I live on Church Street for a huge apartment complex. I can see the property from my house, but I'm not within the parameters to be notified. So as I've told the mayor and anybody else who keeps having people come up and say, I'm not being notified, you would need to change the rules. I also let you know that by doing registered mail, which is expensive, we're starting to get more returns back than we did from regular mail, because people don't want to go sign for the registered mail. But we try to follow the rules. I'm trying to do what I said I was going to do in the beginning, is get one road access over to Huntersville, Mount Hollyville Road. And this is the only way I know how to do it, the new plan.
Okay, do we have some questions for the petitioner? Go ahead.
So the house where the tree is, that was originally supposed to be preserved?
We were going to just make it a clubhouse, but when the cost came in so high, we're just trying to get the project, make it feasible. So the Hamiltons have been there, and Conrad Puckett, who's nearby, he remembers, he's 98 now, and he's one of the sellers. So they both revere the tree, and it'll be fully put a deed restriction on it to make sure there's no construction under the tree. The house is there. It's been there for probably 80 or 90 years. been there, but while the tree's been growing.
So there's no more clubhouse or whatever?
No, we need to sell it. We aren't there where the road can be built yet. And it probably will be a reduction, a loss on my part, and probably a lower sales price on the Hamiltons to try to make it work. I know Hoyt's listening, so he might be upset. He just heard that.
Okay. Other questions?
This is somewhat secondary, but I noticed during some of the public commentary that there was some question, yes, it's on. Okay. Thank you. During the public commentary, there was a question about the integrity of the traffic study, making observations that certain elements of the study was inconsistent with what their observations were as citizens.
Then you can question every traffic study, every TIA that's done.
My question wasn't that as much as what was the methodology, and did staff look at the methodology and concur that the methodology was consistent, which would produce the kind of quality results that we would be able to stand by?
My traffic engineers talk to the town traffic engineers, and again, I'm a history major, I stay out of it. That's their realm, that's what they went to school for, and that's what we pay them for. And my understanding is, they accepted that analysis and they concurred with it. So I don't know what else to do. Again, it's like, then you need to make another rule for me and say, how do you verify your traffic analysis besides hiring a qualified traffic engineer?
You missed a point. I started off by saying there was inconsistency in the methodology, and I was questioning about the methodology itself.
Again, I don't know the methodology. I'm not a traffic engineer.
That's the answer.
So that's kind of what they went to school for, and that's what I pay for.
You also make reference to the Corps of Engineers charging $250,000. What exactly is that?
No, it was a mitigation fee. If we impact the stream too much with 2 crossings, we went over a threshold. By only crossing it once, that went away. That's how the price went down from $235,000 a lot down to $195,000. We had to figure out a way to get the project built and get a road across the stream and make it affordable so at least the project could happen.
Okay. So I don't know core requirements, but it'd be great if somebody on staff could be able to confirm that that actually does happen.
Yeah, I have a
That's-
copy of it here with me if you want it.
Yeah, that does happen. They do require that. Yeah.
Make sure it does.
You can make the bridge longer though and get out of it, but
You can
doubt that's happening.
move that one down the line.
Mr. Bowman, that's a fee and not a escrow type situation, that's a straight up expense?
Yeah.
This may be more for staff or the applicant. Phase 1 and Phase 2 are developed and probably sold out like that. That's on the ground, right?
No, they only have 21 houses up, I think, now. No, we've kind of been working on this hard to make sure we got this done before all those houses are in. I think
Okay.
there are 21 up and 16 in various stages of construction out of 105.
Okay.
And by the way, our density on Phase 3 is, I think, less than 2 units an acre, and it's 54% open space. So increasing the density was just adding the one house so we could sell it to raise some capital, but 54% of Phase 3 is in open space.
Where I'm going with this, and I'm always trying to understand, we have recommendations, the board has decisions to make. We make a decision, there are consequences by making that decision. We can make a decision, again, I don't know which way I'm going with this, but I'm thinking we have a decision or a recommendation to make that says, you know what, no, we don't want to see a revised plan, and let's say that this Phase 3 is now no longer economically viable. That Phase 3 may sit there and be undeveloped for some period of time. And I'm just asking staff, assuming that's the scenario we go down, we now don't have that access back out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road to serve Phase 2 and 3. Is that fair? Again, I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, that's correct.
I got to follow up to that because I was going to ask that same question, lot less nice. We can't make him put in the road he said he was going to put in for phases 1, 2, and 3. He can build half of it, make his money on phases 1 and 2, and not put in the connection.
So, okay, there are a few different elements to that, and this is part of what you heard in comments. In the original version, and part of the concern is that, in the original version being R1810A, the connection out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road was intended to be essentially developed with the development, so it would be done. But now, because when the plan was revised with 2205, it was no longer required to be done with phases 1 and 2. Exactly what you're saying. So yes, the connection out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road could potentially be many years away. It's unfortunately not unheard of that the roadway improvements take as long as it takes for future phases to develop.
I mean, I think that's fine when you're going back into the woods like the back of Vermillion, but when you're talking about a connection that alleviates traffic, I feel like, yeah, I don't think that was explained to us at the time when we approved that in 22, that, hey, this now separates this out, and if he doesn't build phase 3, then the town's just out of luck, and our citizens are out of luck. I feel like developers are going to use this going forward. Hey, let me split this up into 5 different phases, change phase 4 and 5 around, and if I run out of money, so what? I'll walk away, kind of thing.
So here's another element. One of the things that we've been very diligent on, I'll say it, I know for sure in the past year, is evaluating the phasing of the TIA. So if the TIA said that certain improvements had to be in by a certain time, or by the time a certain number of homes are constructed or receive their CO, that we've been very diligent on checking those. Unfortunately, some TIAs did not include that element where it said that by a certain phase or by a certain number of home builds, you must have these improvements installed, and this was one of them. Where it said, because essentially, the way that you're speaking and following exactly what you're saying, if the TIA were phased and the previous rezoning were adopted saying that even if they never built homes in phase 3, they must have the connection to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, then the rezoning conditions could be enforced such that that improvement would be done to satisfy the requirements of the rezoning. But that was not the case for this rezoning.
Right. All right. So if it doesn't work for Mr. Bowman, would the town ever constitute doing an easement through this and connecting Garver, whatever, I can't remember all the road names. Yeah.
Cherry Bark Lane.
Yeah, Cherry Bark Lane over? I mean, especially not with a culvert probably, because that's just going to add a lot of cost.
Unlikely.
So now, it's either, I'm looking at it, if I live on Westminster, I mean, it's either it doesn't get built and I get the 100 homes that are about to be built with a lot of that coming through, or we add 50 more homes and I get, hopefully less than half of those 50 homes coming through my neighborhood because there's one exit over there now. It's rocking a hard place.
Prince?
Yes, so just to follow up with Chris's point, I'm thinking about what prevents another developer for putting these kind of project into phases that, well, I would do part of this and then maybe come back for rezoning. And once I'm at the point that I need, or maybe can I do the project, maybe should I say intimidate or whatever it is for residents, because we need access. What would prevent such developer from maybe following the same route if we just approve this?
Sure. So the projects that are in review, and I know that have been for sure the past year, but maybe a little bit longer than that, the TIA requirements are being very closely checked to make sure that they are phased appropriately so that that does not happen. So that essentially, any improvements that are significant are phased such that they're installed before, like whether the project is built out or not. So there's a project now where they had, I think, one improvement that they had to do on Gilead Road. I think it's maybe a couple hundred homes in that one, and they can't get their first 50 COs until those improvements have been satisfied with NCDOT. So that would be how it's being handled now.
But again, if you go back to the original rezoning, it had one connection, okay? And even though I could walk away, that's why I'm here, trying to make at least one connection at a better location than that connection was. So, I mean, I'm not dodging the problem. We're addressing it and trying to get this situation handled so there's not a problem in the future.
But when that original plan was developed, Huntersville was much smaller, correct?
2018.
I mean, I'm just trying to,
But we're still at density around 2 units an acre with tremendous amounts of open space.
I remember this project coming through, and I remember being super excited because the residents
Can
were
I
on
speak to the
board with
growth?
it.
There has been
Yeah.
little to no growth in this area of town. Most of our growth has been more towards the core and out east. So this would be the first major project in the 22 years that I've been here. Yep.
I'm going to go back. The road thing seems like it's a tough quandary, but go back to the tree and the density piece of it. Is there a way we can increase some of the density on some of the other lot lines instead of doing it like 2 units per acre, I think is what you said? On like some of those lines, could we make those a little tighter and keep that space around the tree viable and make the math work?
The tree and the house are exactly where they've been for, the tree probably for 120 years and the house for probably, no, I mean, this is why there's no more room to get the lots any smaller. We've done everything to try to make it as feasible as we can. And I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And we've, saving that, reselling the house and having it be rehabbed in place is another $30,000, which over 50 lots, is 6,000.
Okay, so you're not tearing the house down and building a new one there. You're just rehabbing the one that's there.
Yeah, and keeping the same foundation and deed restricting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the original plan, were you tearing the house down? You
No,
were
we
just
didn't
turning
want-
into a
We didn't want
clubhouse?
to tear the house down.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I kind of like older homes like the one where,
For some reason, I feel like there was like a park or something around it.
It still
Yeah,
is.
Still
There still
will
is.
be.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It'll just be somebody's backyard.
no, the park's there.
So
The park's there. It's a
we can go
small
back to
urban
the,
open space.
and I can explain what the concern is. So we're, okay, it's blown up on the right-hand side here. So that area, and we don't have the image from, with the open space detail, but it's still intended to be a relatively passive park space there with a trail, I think, going around the tree, maybe a couple benches and whatnot. And so previously, what was agreed upon was that it was generally acceptable because it wouldn't be privately owned. It would be communal space, and it would be kind of just understood, like nobody's going to go in there with a chainsaw on a bad day and take down a part of the tree. But now with it being a private home lot, the concern is that it's more difficult to manage a private property owner impacting that tree than it would be for there to be some type of like community management of the health of the tree. But overall, the urban open space is still planned for that area. That's one of the areas that staff is recommending that there is some type of like amenitization for folks entering the community from Mount Holly Huntersville Road. So, yes. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Did anybody miss anything? Okay.
Just
The
the internet.
the tree itself will be in the open space. It's just the canopy
Yes.
will be on the, over the private lot.
And then presumably a part of the root system as well.
I still have a question. How would you rehab an 80-year-old house and not disturb the tree?
We'll make sure they can't disturb the foundation. You can rehab the interior of the house and the exterior as long as they're not digging or doing anything around the foundation. And we'll let the town review the deed restriction.
This is more of a question for staff. You talk about impacting a neighborhood, albeit not significantly, according to the report. But yet, is there any plan to put sidewalks in a community where the increased volume of traffic is coming through? I'm just one of those that get real concerned when you hear about people walking in streets with no sidewalks, and you're increasing traffic on those kinds of streets.
There's not currently a sidewalk project planned for the Westminster community.
Yeah, is that just
Apparently
because it's
that
lacking on a request for sidewalks?
Yes, no? Okay, so we would have to check to see if there is a request and then where that request would be in the queue.
One from Mr. Bowman. What changed between R22, or 05 and now as far as the, why you're looking to remove the street? I know it can't be just the $300,000 it's going to cost you.
No, it's
Yeah.
the second stream crossing that went with it. That's why the difference in cost went from 232,000 now down to 195. Again, I have those bids. I shared them with the neighbors. Anybody's willing to look and compare the bids and see where the extra costs are. We had to kind of figure out how to reduce the cost because nobody was going to pay $232,000. Then you have to add bank interest, profitability. So the lots would have to be $250,000 lots, and the homes would have to be $1 million.
But you did that same analysis in 22, right?
No,
No?
no. That's why I'm going to lose money.
Oops.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That's exactly why I lose money.
And yeah, I think it's like $2 million difference, the numbers he's throwing around, and that's that section with the culvert and the $250,000 of mitigation. Yeah.
Any further questions? And if not, do we have a motion?
Yeah, so this might be for both the staff and the applicant, so my concern here was about the traffic and the sidewalk and other stuff. Increasing the density, like we said, will create some problem. Obviously, we heard from the public comment that people walk the street back and forth. So with this kind of flexibility that you requesting for approval, what can we guarantee for the community? Are we going to build some sidewalks? Are we going to put something into this? What are we going to do?
I can't go build sidewalks in somebody else's community. The town has found out how difficult it's been to build in Pottstown without getting right of way. They were trying to do a sidewalk project on Central. I actually own some property, and I said I would give the right of way, but unless they get everybody to give the right of way, it doesn't get built. So that's more of a town question because it's not on property I own or control.
Are you referring to sidewalks on this development or?
Yes.
I think there was a clarification. I think he was referring to the
I'm talking
interior
about the
sidewalks
develop-
on your project.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's sidewalks included on
Yeah.
all the town streets in this project.
Okay.
Just not, there are no sidewalks that are being proposed in the existing Westminster community. And there are no funds being committed to any sidewalk projects for that community as a part of this rezoning application.
Okay.
Yeah, this project has sidewalks.
1, 2, and 3 all have sidewalks everywhere.
Good deal.
I'll do one just to get us started, so we can get in discussion and get this over with, and if we change it, we change it. Change all mine anyway. All right, I have a motion. All right.
You're up.
In considering the proposed rezoning petition R 25-12 Oak Grove Hill, Phase 3, Planning Board recommends approval with the conditions that an arborist certify that there are no specimen trees less than 24 inches in caliper on site, or all trees 12 inches and greater are identified. The buffer standards meet the current planning standards. Excellence in design is demonstrated with the urban open space to balance the significance of modification requests. The proposal is consistent with Huntersville 2040 Community Plan, policies LU 1.1 and EOS-4. It is reasonable and in the public interest to rezone the approximate 66.92 acres described herein as consistent with the envisioned use and development patterns set forth in the community plan.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. Discussion. Chris?
Yeah, I'll start discussion. I mean, when I looked at it, I didn't see it was that big of a deal. I came in here thinking that, yeah, sure, we're going to be out of here in an hour. It seems like it makes sense kind of thing. And I appreciate you all bringing your concerns to the table. And you guys are really stuck in a bad spot because, I mean, the math doesn't work. I mean, he's not going to sit there and lose $2 million to make sure that there's an extra road that goes out of there.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you, sir?
Yeah.
What is the process? If I do a project and it's not profitable, I lose the money, I go out of business. Who cares if he makes money or not? At our cost.
I understand, yeah.
Sir, you need to leave.
Yeah.
You need to leave.
So I get it, you guys are in a horrible spot, but the way I see it is he doesn't have to finish this phase, and you guys are going to be worse off if he doesn't put this connection in there. And I don't think there's any way we can force him to do it, sadly. We can't force him to put in Phase 3, and he's not going to sit here and lose money. And I agree. I mean, he did, halfway kind of skirt the system with this, oh, I'm going to do it in 3 phases. Oh, I'm going to change phase 3, but now the connection doesn't have to be there. And that was a miss on our part as a planning board at the time. I know a lot of you weren't here, and on the staff's part. But I don't want to leave it in a bad spot where it just sits there empty, and you guys have to wait 10 years, and you have the other 100 people coming through your lot without any way to get to Mount Holly, Huntersville. So that's the reason that I did do the approval, and I would be open for anybody else on this board to sway me otherwise.
I seconded the motion, so Chris, you basically said what I was going to say. I understand the community's position, concerns, but as much as we like it, you like it, the town likes this existing plan, it's not relevant if it's never built. It's just not relevant. And again, it could be there for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and we never get that second connection or the other connection back out. So, we're all in a difficult situation here. Like Chris said, in hindsight, wish there was a way that this would have been required to be done before there was a CO issued for Phase 1 or Phase 2. But that's not the case now. So now we've basically got the equivalent of a vacant piece of land there. And again, as much as we all like that plan, I would love to see 2 connections. If it's not going to happen, if it's not feasible, it's not going to happen. So what's the next best thing that we can do? And I think after listening to everything, this is the next best thing we can do.
I agree, Scott. I think, just looking at the plan, having 2 stream crossings that close that's a difficult, that's a big deal. Having 1 is great. I think that it's good for the connectivity. But being able to preserve that much more open space by not, plowing through it with a road there, I think it makes a better plan, personally.
I'm good. Well, unfortunately, I can't quite go along with my peers on this one for a couple of reasons. One is I think this particular approval will send a message that we devalue connectivity. Because if we're truly saying connectivity is an extremely important aspect of Huntersville communities, it's not important to us how much it has to cost the developer. And I think it also sends a message that if you make a strong enough argument about the cost of development, then we're willing to accept that as part of the reason as to why we will approve you. I think it's too bad precedent. You devalue connectivity, and you say if it costs you too much, that's okay. We can accept that. I can't go along with that.
I'm really kind of still on the fence with this one. If we do go with the approval, though, I'd like us to consider like amending and putting something in about the heritage tree in the deed. I think that needs to be addressed. And then also, someone made the, I think the planning board made the note about all transportation notes need to be added. Those are just two things I saw we definitely need to do. And I'm really on the fence. I don't like the idea that the road can't be in. I think it makes a lot of sense to have Carver Road there, and changing the density of the project. It really tightens up, like right at the street, there's a house that seems to be right on the road. And then the buffer next to the homes on the top of the plan, I feel like everything's very close. And not having the house as part of the community, I think is really strange that someone would live in a house that looks absolutely different than everyone else in the neighborhood. That should be a community space for everyone. That just seems bizarre. Someone would purchase that. And then we need more, I think that like excellence in design is mentioned, like for the last year, that's all I've heard is like affordable housing and excellence in design. And if he's bringing this back to the table, I think some of that needs to be addressed. Like the house that was shown in our site plan, it was like some house frontage that was on Beatty's Ford Road. It was nothing special. And I don't know, I think it's disappointing that he's bringing this is what he's bringing back to the table.
Jody, I 100% agree with you. I am very disappointed overall. I came in here thinking that the worst thing we were going to have to deal with tonight was going to be the tree size and the tree save. And hearing your concerns really upsets me. I don't know what we can do. And that's, I think, the most distressing part of it, because if we say no, and we're advisory, right? We're not the final say on this. But if we say no, then we leave you with this huge chunk of people cutting through your road. And if we say yes, then, Michael, you're absolutely right. This signals to other developers, oh, we'll just do it in phases. We are in such a bad spot. And I just hope y'all know that every single one of us sitting up here cares very much for you. So I've never seen it get that heated. And, I hope it doesn't happen like that in the future. But we genuinely care.
Yeah, I'll chime in.
Please.
I'm going to have to be a no as this sits here today. There's got to be another way. And we can't set a precedent where you can come back and take off something that was obviously negotiated for with the residents a couple of years ago. There's got to be another design here that will get you to the price point you need to be at, because $500,000 a house all in, if you get 4 more houses in here, you've got more open space than you need. If it takes a couple more cul-de-sacs, if you need to take Carver and run it up to the north and connect it to Road B to dump out to Mount Holly, Huntersville, and run some cul-de-sacs off of there, there's got to be a third choice here. And for that reason, I'm going to have to pass on this one.
Yep, so I'm going to vote in support of the motion. Frankly, we can't force the developer to try to lay this out anymore or any other way. If we deny this, he might not come back for 30 years, and traffic's going to get worse and worse and worse on these cut-throughs. I think that this solution is not good for everybody. I think the the town and the board are going to take our lumps on this, and I think it's our fault ultimately that we're in this situation, but I think that we need to show that a lesson's been learned and that we won't have this situation, so we're not signaling to future developers that this is okay in our book. So I hope that the board can at least convey that message on this project.
Just to address a couple of comments, again, respect you guys' opinion. On the precedent, I think, and hearing staff, that we may have already, hopefully addressing that going forward, where we're going to be able to not allow this to happen in the future, where phases are allowed to be built. So I'm not so concerned about if this passes and the board passes it, that there's any precedent set. And then, Michael, I agree. I'm huge on connectivity. I had no idea how important connectivity was until I moved to Huntersville and sat on this board. Now, I want it as much as we can. And in this particular case, I feel like we've already improved it. In other words, if this was a first plan that we saw, we probably would have all been like, this is wonderful. Yeah, we don't like cul-de-sacs, but you know what? If we're saving a stream crossing and it makes sense, we can live with the cul-de-sac. It's just we've seen something prettier, and now we're having a hard time looking at this and getting comfortable with it. But I still think, again, we've got 2 more connections out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road that we didn't have before. It looks like, and I can't remember the name of the road, Cherry Brook will hopefully eventually connect back over to the other community. So I think we've still solved for the connectivity issue. Anyway.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't know the rules, Robert's rules, but I feel like if we want to send a strong denial as a group, if somebody has a secondary motion, so can I remove my substitute motion? Sorry, a substitute motion. Instead of 5 of us just saying no to the approval, I feel like we should say we deny it and here's why we deny it, kind of thing, as opposed to just.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Do we need to act on that and vote on that first, or can we do a? Okay.
It does not have to go back to the original motion.
Right.
Okay.
I actually have a proposed amendment. I was thinking the same thing that Jody was saying. For the motion on the floor, I have a proposed amendment.
Does somebody that thinks strongly in denial have a denial one substitute?
Well, hang on, let's let Scott finish his first.
To clean up the first motion.
Oh, okay.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm doing.
All
Just
right.
clean up the first. Additional condition number 4 would be that the existing house adjacent to the urban open space number 3 have deed restrictions that prevent potential damage to the heritage tree.
Okay.
And number 5, that the transportation notes from rezoning 2205 be incorporated into this rezoning.
Okay, and Chris, that was your motion. You need to
Accept.
accept that?
Yep.
Okay.
And he needs a
and-
second.
I will second my amended motion.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Okay, we'll call the vote.
But just
All-
one point to Chris's question, if it is a denial motion, it doesn't come till after the denial, right? So substitute motion is not that.
That's your choice.
Okay.
He's trying to amend the motion that's on the floor now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
So you all can decide, the motion maker, if you want to accept those amendments. If you do, that will be the motion that's on the table. Then someone can make a substitute motion, and if that is the case, you need to vote on the substitute motion first, and then the amended original motion.
Yeah, and we've done that. We accepted the amendment.
Yeah.
I accepted it, he seconded
And
it.
he seconded
But my question is, if we vote 5 against the approval, or, 5 against, we need,
And you need to make, you don't need to make a substitute, you just need to make a motion.
right, okay, yeah, so let's go
Okay.
ahead and vote, all right.
Okay, so the motion on the table. We'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Okay. Did you get everybody?
I think there's.
All those in favor of the motion on the table?
To approve.
To
My
approve.
motion to approve.
Yes. Okay, those opposed? Okay, so,
We have no motion. Start over.
Yep.
does somebody want to make a substitute motion? To deny.
Is it weird if it comes from the same person?
I'll take a run at it.
Okay,
It's going to be brief. In considering the proposed rezoning petition R25-12 Oak Grove Hill, Planning Board recommends denial because the proposal is inconsistent with the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan, particularly Policy LU 7.1, dealing with connectivity. It is reasonable and in the public interest to deny rezoning described herein as it is not in line with the 2040 Community Plan.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Lee?
Yeah, again, there's got to be a third option here, and we're not adjudicating the original design or anything like that. This is just this one piece of dealing with the tree save and the connectivity, and that is all.
Michael? Anything to add?
I don't think there's
second.
anything new I would necessarily add. I think this is a very nuanced kind of project that this board will run across. But again, I think we owe it to all the taxpayers to ensure that what we approve is truly something that they can see benefit in some form or fashion. And at this point, I think for some of the community that is being highly impacted, it's hard for them to understand why would you, if you live where they live, you seriously question, why did the board do what it did? You need a stronger rationale, is what I'm saying. And what we've produced tonight isn't necessarily a strong rationale, but I think the developer can certainly come back with stronger commentary with respect to addressing the issues that we have highlighted.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Scott?
I will not support the motion on the floor. And it's not because I don't respect the people in the room, it's because I do. I've been on this board for 6 years, maybe 5 or 6 years, and I've seen it happen too many times where we make recommendations, we're recommendations only, something is passed, and then you look back 6 months or 2 years or whatever, you look back like, wow, that was an unintended consequence that has really hurt us. And in this case, this land may sit here undeveloped. I'll use a quick example. We lived this in the last 6 months probably. Morningstar Mini Storage came before us. McCord Road and 115. We made a decision to deny it, and we had this discussion. We said, if we deny it, can they build on it? And they sat up there and said, we will not build on it even though we can by right on, say, 2/3 of it. We all denied it thinking we did the right thing because we did not want to see a mini storage on that site. Fast forward to this day, it is halfway done because they did move forward, even though they sat there and said they would not. They moved forward and built the project. Just one example of many that we've seen. So I just tell everybody, be careful what the unintended consequences of our decisions are. Again, hey, we're an advisory board. I don't even know how much the town listens to us, but that was my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think my biggest thing, oh, sorry, to jump in front
I was
of
just
somebody.
going to jump in and say I was a yes on Morningstar. Thank you.
I guess I was wanting a stronger denial and maybe some recommendations on, steps forward in that. I mean, because I do feel like it could sit there for another 2 years and it's only going to get worse as far as traffic on Westminster, because they're going to finish that housing project, that project in a year, and there's going to be 50 cars going through their neighborhood, promise, and no way out. So I wish there was a timeline we could put on it or something like that, but I don't think contractually, legally, we can, right?
I'd say a lot of that is a good idea that you got, but that's up to the town board. We're black and white.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to recommend denial? Those opposed? So the motion carries, denial. Okay, moving along. Other business, consider approval of the 2026 Planning Board calendar. Does anybody have any thoughts? I guess it really is the only change would be the November, December meetings.
I've looked at the calendar, and I think this is part of why Tracy puts this in here, it's that we're running up against 2 holidays. So I would, let's discuss it, then we can make a motion, but I would propose for the November and December meetings that we move those to the 3rd Wednesday versus the existing November 24th and December 22nd. But again, let's open up for discussion. That's the point.
Third Wednesday and, yeah, that's,
And I can make a motion if you got, but if y'all have any.
I have no issues, so.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what we've done in the past, and it seems to work for everybody's schedule, so I would recommend the same. Yeah.
I'd go ahead and make the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the 2026 Planning Board meeting schedule as proposed, with the November and December meetings being moved to the 3rd Wednesday in November, which is November the 18th, 3rd Wednesday in December, which is December the 16th.
Okay, second. Any discussion? All right, Michael?
Did you say 16?
December 16th.
Okay.
Is that right, Michael?
I'm trying to make sure. Did
On
somebody
my
else-
cheat sheet.
No, no, no.
November
Looking-
18th, December 16th.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Tracy will clean it up for me anyway.
Thanks, got it.
Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, and if we could get a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? We're out.